If your ex blocks you off everything a day after your breakup, will they eventually unblock you?
It's possible. It's like it's like a 50-50. Flip a quarter, flip a coin. It could go either way. Typically, people are doing that. They're in a lot of pain, and
Mm.
so to them, they're doing something. They're taking some kind of action to, in essence, block the pain off. Because
Yeah.
if you're trying to get over somebody, the last thing you want to see is their Instagram stories, or worse, them posting pictures of somebody else they're dating or whatever.
Right.
Because then you're going to see that and you're like, damn, they're doing better than me. It
Hmm.
pisses me off. She found somebody new before I did,
Hmm.
that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so typically there's that kind of a reaction. So it's common for women to block guys, and guys do it to girls, but women often will do that. Depends on how pissed off they are, depends on how wounded they are, depends on how open they are.
Hmm.
Um, and so when you see those things, oftentimes, so when you do that, when somebody basically blocks you and they, in essence, ghost you, if you will, in other words, they're just basically saying, hey, I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to see you anymore. I want you out of my life. It's like, okay. And then
Yeah.
you go. You think you can do better than me? Then go. Good luck.
Right.
Good love's hard to find, like the Tom Petty song has. And so you need to have that attitude. So in this case, you don't do anything. You
Hmm.
don't call. You don't, I mean, you're blocked anyways.
Right.
So you should be watching her stories, but guys in that situation, what are they gonna do? Every couple of days or every couple of weeks, they're gonna go back to see if they're unblocked yet.
Yeah.
And oftentimes they will be unblocked, and because enough time passes, the woman wants to know what's going on with you.
Yeah.
Because she might be thinking, I hope he's not doing better than me, or I hope the next girl's not prettier than I am.
Right.
And so you'll notice that you're unblocked. But typically, what's happened in those situations is they've over pursued the women to the point, or they've displayed such unattractive behavior that she's like, friend zone, I don't want anything to do with you. I'm over it. I don't feel anything anymore. There's no chemistry. There's no spark. I need to
Yeah.
work on myself. You get those kinds of things. So you let her be, because
Hmm.
it takes two people to make something work. In this case, this is an ex. He's probably hoping to get her back or to work things out. And if she's not willing to participate, if she's not willing to talk, I mean, if he's blocked everywhere, then she has to be the first one to reach out. When you've gotten to the point where you're blocked and you're pushed away, you don't keep pursuing.
Hmm.
It's like the door slammed in your face, so you walk away and you go find somebody else to date. And if you ever hear from her again, assume she wants to see you. You make a date at your house in the evening to make dinner together, hang
Hmm.
out, have fun, hook up.
What if he's the one that broke up with her and then she blocked him?
Again, you can't fix anything if she's unwilling to talk to you.
Right.
But
Yeah.
in that case, 99.99999% of those, it's she's blocked him because she dumped him. I mean, women file for divorce like 75% of the time.
Hmm.
It's because women typically stay in a relationship until the feelings are gone,
Right.
until it's easier for them to either monkey branch to a new guy or to break it off and feel good about the breakup because the feelings are gone.
Yeah.
If you break up with somebody when you still care about them and you still love them, you're going to go right back to them
Hmm.
because the pain of not being together is too overwhelming. But when you don't care anymore, like I was talking to a guy last night who was dating a girl, and he over pursued her to the point, for several years where he's doing like 70% of it, but they were long distance for like the last year and a half or so. So they didn't see each other
Damn.
very often, but she was very cold when they broke up, and she ended up reaching out, or no, he reached out a couple months after it, after she had pushed him away, and her attitude was a little better. But when they talked and they texted, she basically came right out and said, you haven't changed at all. You're still the same guy.
Yeah.
And so he didn't do anything to improve himself yet. In other words, she pushed him away, said she wasn't interested, and instead of him walking away and never looking back,
He kept
but 2 months
going.
later he looked back and he
Oh
went after
gosh.
her, and she's like, "Yeah, it was the right thing to do. I don't feel anything. My feelings are completely gone."
Yeah.
And so she was totally over it because he hadn't heard from her in a couple months, and
Hmm.
then that was what happened last summer. And since then, he hasn't heard a peep out of her. So he's like, "Am I going to hear from her again?" I was like, "I put a
No.
fork in that." Her
Damn.
family's unfollowed him on social
Oh
media,
wow.
and so in that case, he over pursued and he chased her to the point where she lost all respect, all interest, because she used to. In the beginning of the
Hmm.
relationship for the first year, she was always pursuing him and chasing him, wanted to be serious,
Yeah.
wanted to get in a relationship with him, was talking about marriage and all these things. And then over time, the power flipped, and then he became full of fear, and then he was doing all the chasing. And
Right.
she was the one putting him off. She was the one too busy to get together, those kinds of things. And eventually, she dumped him. And then he kept pursuing even after he got dumped.
Yeah.
And so, like, towards the end, she was kind of, because he had acted weak, she was a bitch to him.
Yeah.
Women tend, if you act like a bitch, women tend to be bitchier towards you because she's disgusted by his unattractive, unmasculine behavior.
Right.
And because we're the part of the world she's from, men, run everything.
Right.
And he's basically went from acting like a man in the beginning to towards the end, he's acting like a girl. And she was totally repulsed and totally turned
Desperate.
off. And that's why she was just kind of nasty and mean to him because she
Yeah.
just wanted him to go away because it disgusted her.
Yeah, no, he started acting desperate towards her, and that's a turn off, huge turn off.
Yeah, you're supposed to be more masculine than the girl.
Right.
And she was very feminine. And very feminine women want a very masculine guy, just like you say often. You want to be dominated by a
Yeah.
very masculine guy because you're very feminine and girly, because otherwise you're not going to feel safe.
Yeah. Like, I find it attractive when guys know what they want, when they don't need to do the ultimate most in order to show you that, improve that. Like, if they know they like you and they want to be with you, they'll make it known, not in a way where they're like crawling at my feet kind of thing. So,
But you've seen a lot of guys that tend to crawl at your feet
yeah.
because they can't handle your beauty
Yeah.
and your sex appeal.
And you like,
You're like the ultimate girl. You're the hot girl that they've always wanted.
yeah.
And they don't interact with women like you very often, or that they feel that way about. And so all of their insecurities, their fear of loss, all that stuff comes out, and they constantly communicate that they don't feel like they deserve to be with you. And
Right.
what you're most attracted to is confidence and dominance. And they're basically apologizing for their interests and then telling you they don't think they're good enough for you.
Right.
And you want a guy that feels like he deserves to be there, like he's an equal. Like, yeah, of course she would date me. Why wouldn't she? She'd be stupid not to.
Right. You should be honored.
Yeah, you should be honored. You should be glad. You should be like, oh, of course. She's obviously a smart girl if she likes me,
Right.
But when they grovel and they act unworthy, every woman gets turned off. It could be a obese, unattractive woman, and you could have a fit, in shape dude that just likes big fat girls. Big beautiful. I had an old friend of mine that was like that. The dude was one of the most handsome, fittest, in shape dudes that I went to school with, and he just liked big girls.
Yeah.
And the more out of shape and the more it just did it for him. He was weird like that, He married a big girl, and he's the happiest, most devoted husband.
Okay.
It's like, hey, different strokes for different folks, man. Well, the thing, like when it comes to flirtation, because I've, a hot girl is a hot girl. I don't care. But the thing I've noticed is that women are the best flirts are typically the overweight black women. They are sweet as pie. They can run circles around white girls, any other Hispanic girls. It's like overweight black women have more charm and know how to talk. That's why you'll see really shredded, fit, and shaped black guys that you're like, the dude looks like a male model.
Right.
He should be dating some, a Beyonce or some absolute Halle Berry, some smoking hot woman.
Yeah.
Instead, he's with this, enormously obese woman who's happy, who's bubbly, who's always breaking his balls playfully. She's constantly having sex with him, making dinner for him. She dotes on him. She treats him great because, bigger women have to work a little harder, and they develop their skills in other areas, and they're able to punch above their weight.
Yeah.
Because what is she doing? She's bringing peace into his life. When he comes home from a hard day, she's like, baby, how are you? Here's a beer. And she pulls his pants down and gives him a blowjob. Always doting on him, waiting on him hand and foot. Yes, honey. Yes, baby. Whatever he wants. Keeps the house clean. Just good women.
Yeah.
And so I found the best flirts are big, beautiful black women. Who's the other guy that was in Bad Boys with Will Smith? What's that guy's name?
I know who you're talking about. The short guy?
Yeah, he's a
eyes.
comedian.
Yeah, I forgot his name.
Well, they're actually
huge
filming
eyes.
a new one down in Miami.
Yes, they
Bad
are.
Boys 4, I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
They shut down A1A.
Yeah.
in 2 days.
And they moved because like if you ever been to Miami, when you get off the interstate, that's where all the homeless people are. It kind of looks like fucking San Francisco there. But because they're filming a movie, what happened? The police were like, hey, we're filming a movie here. You got to move.
Yeah.
So they moved them all away. It looks all clean downtown Miami, and in reality, all the homeless people got moved for the movie.
Damn.
As soon as they were done filming, they all moved right back,
Oh wow.
pitching their tents in the street, the sidewalks, and everything.
Damn.
Which, the mayor, I think it's Suarez. He's supposedly a Republican, but he's the one allowing that shit. So he's one of those guys that everybody's, is like a rhino, Republican in name only.
Right.
He claims he's a Republican, but when you look at the fact that he's, basically turning downtown Miami into San Francisco, because the shoot house where I go to train down there and doing, CQB stuff, force on force training. It's right in a, really bad area. And even though I'm armed to the teeth,
Mm-hmm.
when I go down there, I do not feel safe.
Really?
And I'm always looking around, when I go there until I get into the building. It's like a dodgy ass area.
Fort Lauderdale's getting really bad too.
Yeah, I noticed there's lots of homeless people everywhere down at the beach.
Yeah.
That I go to lunch down there sometimes, and there's this one guy down there. He's got tattoos all over his face. He looks like an MS-13 guy. I was like,
Oh my gosh.
he's a scary looking dude, man. It's
Right.
like I never seen that guy before.
Mm-hmm. Like I'm seeing more than usual. Like they're just sitting out under the benches. Like even at some restaurants, just outside of the restaurants. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, downtown Orlando, I mean, that over the last 25, 30 years since I had moved up there in the mid 90s, it's like downtown Orlando, it smells like piss everywhere.
Ew.
There's homeless people everywhere on every corner during the day, begging for money. When they got 2 or 3 big shopping carts full of crap.
Right.
And it's, Buddy Dyer, the mayor of Orlando, he tolerates that shit. It's everybody in the Democratic, oh, we got to be compassionate. So you got all these people basically dying on the streets, doing drugs,
Yeah.
and they won't do anything about it. Well, what's interesting is people go and they interview people on the streets. They're like, hey, you need a job. What do you need? And they're like, hey, I get Social Security benefits. I get government handouts. Most of them they're addicted to drugs, and they have no desire to get a job or do anything because they get plenty of money to buy the food that they need. They live on the streets and they just do drugs all day long, have sex in the street, whatever.
Ew.
It's crazy the video that you see on Twitter of the stuff that goes on in San. People walking around with their briefcases, and there's some dude, right next to the stop sign, just butt flopping in the air, pounding away on some chick that's giving up the pussy, so he'll give her some free drugs.
Isn't that illegal?
Nothing's really illegal. I mean, they changed the laws that it was kind of funny because Gavin Newsom was on. He was talking to some of the other members of his government, and he was in a Target, and he said he was watching all these people just run out the door. He's like, I'm paying like $300-400 where I bought at Target,
Right.
and yet these people are walking out with shopping carts full of stuff, and nobody's doing anything. And he was asking the people at Target, and they were like, why aren't you guys stopping these shoplifters? And they're like, it's the governor, the Governor Newsom. This is his policy.
Right.
And he was like, oh, that's not true. And then they recognized that it was him. Oh, can I take a picture? And he was pissed off.
Yeah.
He's like, I can't believe this. They want to take a picture with me. And they're blaming me for this. It's like,
Right.
well, it's the policies that basically say as long as they don't arrest people unless they've stolen $1,000 or more.
Yeah.
So that the police don't even show up. Hey, I got somebody just walked out the door with a TV. It's like, they don't even come. They don't
Right.
care.
Yeah.
And so the criminals know they just go and steal what they want, and they could sell it on the black market, and they get money for drugs.
Wow.
And that's why you got CVS and all these other businesses like Macy's just announced that they're leaving, and you get these businesses fleeing because there are millions of dollars and stuff getting stolen.
Wait, what do you mean? Macy's is
They're
closing
closing. That big one in, was it San Francisco or L.A.? I can't remember what it was. It's like a multi-story one, very famous Macy's.
Wow.
Been there forever,
Yeah.
decades, and they're closing it down because of all the shoplifting.
What?
Yep.
Is that
Because
everywhere?
they're
'Cause-
losing more money than
Yeah.
they're making in the store. So why would you continue to stay open if you're losing tens of millions of dollars in stolen merchandise over the course of the year? So they closed the whole building down. Now you got another vacant retail center, and people don't want to move there. They don't want to open a business there because the police won't do anything about the theft.
Right.
Because they don't, even if the cops arrest them, the attorney general, who's also a leftist, has the no bail policy. So they arrest them, they do their paperwork, and they just release them right out. They're back out a few hours later to continue stealing, and nothing happens to them.
Right. That's so stupid. What's the point of that?
Yeah.
It's just a waste of time.
Yeah, and so Gavin Newsom gets to see firsthand people shoplifting in this Target, and he's upset they won't do anything about it. And they're like, we call the police, they wouldn't even show up.
Right.
It was
He
like,
was paying for his own stuff.
yeah, I was buying something.
Interesting. He could have been like, I'm walking out. I own this place.
Well, he was kind of saying is like, I should
Yeah.
just walk out.
Right.
And then, the employees were like, this is Gavin Newsom's policy.
Mm.
This is like, criminal justice reform. Like, you know what? The people that are going to jail are disadvantaged. So let's, we don't want to, and then you got some people on the left going, oh, this is reparations.
Mm.
You should just let them do it. And so you got organized criminal gangs. I don't know if you've ever seen video of that. They show up in Rodeo Drive and Beverly Hills and different areas.
No.
40, 50 cars. They organize it on, social media. And then they just go into a Gucci store or Versace or any other kind of high-end store and then just run out with, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars in merchandise. And
I've
just
seen
wreck
that.
the store.
Yeah.
Those are all over Twitter. Those videos go viral.
Right.
And that's racketeering. Those are RICO law violations. But, because you've got these attorneys, the state's attorneys that are basically elected by, people that George Soros supports, they're pro criminal justice reform, and they basically don't prosecute anybody.
Mm-hmm.
So it enables criminals come here from all over the world.
Right.
When you look at like the people that are actually in jail, because a lot of people on the left go, oh, we got too many people in prison. Well, I mean, Venezuela, they release all the most dangerous people in prison, say, we'll release you, but you got to leave and go to America.
What?
Castro did that in the 1980s, the Mariel boat lift. He emptied all his jails.
Wow.
So the murderers, the rapists, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
He let them out of jail and said, you can go free, but you have to go to America.
What?
And so they came here. I mean, you can read all about it in the I remember what it was like down in Miami. It was a fucking war zone in the 80s. You had gangs murdering each other in droves and shootouts and stuff like that and cocaine deals. That's where the Miami Vice television show came from, is these criminals that came from Cuba that were released out of Castro's jails. He sent them to Miami.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, because they're criminals, they all got caught and they ended up in jail.
Yeah.
And so when you look at who's in our jails, I've seen some areas, some jails, there's like 78% of the people in there are people from other countries. They're not even Americans.
Yeah.
And so we basically are the jailer of the world. And a friend of mine who was from Poland a few years ago, we were talking about this, and she's like, hey, well, you guys won the Second World War, and so now all the bad people come to you. The Colombian necktie, you know what that is?
No.
Colombian necktie is
when they
cut
cut
you in the neck here, and then they pull
Yeah.
your tongue out,
Oh.
and the tongue is like a tie.
No. Oh my gosh.
All that shit was, pretty bad. What was interesting is a lot of the cartels got involved with the Taliban.
Mm-hmm.
And what you notice is, all the beheadings and stuff and butchering of the bodies. They learned that from the Taliban because they're buying all the Taliban's heroin and their opium and stuff.
Yeah.